This episode is brought to you by Paramount Plus. Get in, loser! Mean Girls is now streaming on Paramount Plus. Join Katie Heron as she meets the plastics in Tina Fey's new twist on the modern classic. Get ready for more of the rumors, backstabbing, and jokes you loved from the original movie with some fetch surprises. Rated PG-13. Wear pink and head to ParamountPlus.com to try it free.
This episode is brought to you by Paramount Plus. An unlikely friendship begins in the Paramount Plus original movie Little Wing, starring Brooklyn Prince with Kelly Riley and Brian Cox. Reeling from her parents' divorce, Caitlin steals a valuable bird to save her home, but instead forms a bond with the owner, leading to a new outlook on life. Little Wing, now streaming exclusively on Paramount Plus. Head to ParamountPlus.com to try it free. Rated PG-13.
Hey, it's Mistress Carrie, reporting for duty from MCHQ for episode 35 of the Mistress Carrie podcast. This episode of the podcast is sponsored by Digital Federal Credit Union, better known to all of us as DCU. And we all know that every dollar counts, especially right now. And DCU understands that. And they've got great ways to help your money work harder for you. Like if you love your car, but not your current auto loan, you can refinance it with DCU, and they could put you back in the driver's seat with a lower monthly payment. They offer the same low rates to their members for new and used vehicles. And you can find out what DCU could mean to you and your current auto loan when you refinance with them. Just visit dcu.org for more information. This episode of the podcast is also sponsored by MistressCarrie.com, which is the center of my universe now. It's got everything. Every episode of the Mistress Carrie podcast and all of the features of it. The weekly full-length episodes that you get every Wednesday. Monday through Friday, you get the Sit Rep, which is all of your rock news, music headlines, and industry info in less than 5 minutes. And when we have a guest live on Cocktails in the War Room, we always put those interviews up as after-action reports on the podcast, too. And speaking of Cocktails in the War Room, all 116 episodes are up on the website as well. But that's not the only stuff that's on the website. The events calendar is up there, which is filled right now with bands streaming concerts. I mean, if they're the only concerts we're going to get, then let's watch them. Plus, my photo galleries are there, which are growing every day. And my blog is there as well. But you can also check out the Mistress Carrie online store that's filled with awesome merchandise like t-shirts, hoodies, beanies, and everything to outfit your awesome new home office. Coffee mugs, mouse pads, pens, whatever it is that you need. Just go to MistressCarrie.com. And while you're there, click the link in the top right-hand corner and get yourself a Mistress Carrie Backstage Pass on Patreon. Okay, this episode of the podcast, if you're a drummer, you better buckle up, Buttercup, and get ready. Because there's only one Mike Mangini, and we talked about everything. Mike Mangini is the drummer for Dream Theater. But he's done a lot. He's been the drummer for Extreme and Steve Vai. He's been a professor at the Berklee College of Music and was certified as the world's fastest drummer. He's one of the greatest drummers in the world. And I really wanted the chance in this episode to kind of climb in his brain and figure out how it works and how he's able to play the rhythms and the drum parts that he's able to do, because I can't even imagine it. So he hooked up inside his own home studio and jumped behind the kit, and he actually talked me through how he does some of this stuff. Plus, he gave me a ton of great insight about the songwriting process with his band Dream Theater, and gave me a few little nuggets on the upcoming record. But we talked about all kinds of stuff, and he told me some great old stories. I've known him for over 25 years, and I am honored to call him a friend. And even if you're not a drummer, you're going to be amazed. So allow me to introduce you to Mike Mangini from Dream Theater.
Hey, what's up? This is Sully from Godsmack. Strap on those boots, baby, because you are now in the trenches of the war room with the one and only Mistress Carrie right here on the Mistress Carrie podcast.
What's up? This is Joe Rogan, and you're listening to Mistress Carrie.
Her hair so lovely, pretty eyes.
Hey, this is Brent from Shinedown, and you're listening to Mistress Carrie. Hey, Carrie, go put your brow on, girl.
Hey, this is Steven Tyler, and you be listening to the baddest bitch in Boston, Mistress Carrie.
What's up? This is Aaron from Stain, and you're listening to Mistress Carrie.
Hi, everybody. This is Dave Grohl from the Foo Fighters, and you're listening to the one, the only Mistress Carrie.
Hey, this is David from the band Disturbed, and you're listening to the baddest bitch in Boston, Mistress Carrie.
This is Marilyn Manson, and you're listening to the baddest bitch in Boston, Mistress Carrie.
Hi, this is Flea from the Red Hot Chili Peppers. You're listening to Mistress Carrie.
This is Dennis Leary. You are listening to my favorite, Mistress Carrie.
Hey, this is Corey from Stone Sour, and you have the privilege of listening to Mistress Carrie. Oh, God. Oh, yeah.
Technology, Mr. Mangini. You're on the record now, baby. You're on the record.
Right.
How are you?
I am well set up in my whole new world, which doesn't include an airplane. And it's been almost, 3/4 of a year just getting things right and, crazy.
So I'm in your studio.
Yep.
And you're now in my new studio. Welcome to MCHQ.
Yes, it looks tremendous. I love your logo, and you're sporting a fantastic, that's a Shure SM7, isn't it? Or
it
something?
Is.
Oh.
Come on now. I didn't get one. I got 4.
No wonder why they didn't have any left for me.
You're welcome. When I started building the studio shortly after COVID became what it has been, getting gear was really hard because every radio DJ, television person, musician, everybody started building a home studio. And thankfully, I had, I was unemployed and locked down before it was cool.
Yeah.
So AAF went off the air, and I had a couple weeks jump on everybody else. So I was able to get the good microphones and the good cables and build the studio before everybody else put a run on all the gear.
Well, that doesn't surprise me, given the condition early when we met, because it was a Vai show you would come to, I believe. I think it was on Lansdowne Street, and we talked, and we were discussing what it takes to get up and go and get things done. I'll never forget it. And we've had more discussions like that about, not sitting around, but just get up and just get your stuff done and work hard.
Well, that's been, over 25 years since you and I met? I think I was on the AAF street team. I don't even think I was on the air when you and I met.
That is correct. But you were out there hustling, and I mentioned something, and we talked about it. I'm like, yeah, you have to do the extra work.
Do you attribute that to the fact that we're both massholes? Is it something about being from Massachusetts that gives you this ridiculous, overactive work ethic and drive? What is it?
It's absolutely that. It's an East Coast thing. Plus, don't forget, we're hardwired Italians, and we say things that we think out of love, We just speak and think. I'm just going to say what I think, how I think it, and good gosh, the world just doesn't work that way. I had to learn the hard way.
Right? There are some things where it's like,
oh boy,
maybe you shouldn't have said that out loud. But it is funny, and it comes up a lot in the podcast about, just finding something that is putting a barricade in front of where you're trying to go and figuring a way to get through it, over it, around it, under it, whatever it takes. And that this is, I forget who it was, and I wish I could remember, but somebody on the podcast said, if you don't come out of it a better person, smarter, with a new skill, a new something, then you didn't take the opportunity that it's affording you, in that it's slowing your life down, giving you more downtime to be able to tackle something else that maybe you never had time to do.
Yes, and it's a positive thing. Unfortunately, there are parameters out of our control, but with things that are in our control, that's exactly right.
That you find a way. Like for me, when the world, quote unquote, goes back to normal, whenever that is, I don't get to do that because my normal left a few weeks before COVID. That WAAF is gone after 50 years. And so I'm trying to figure out what my life is going to be like post-COVID. You know, you can't wait to put out a new record, get back out on the road. You got all of this stuff that you're doing with me. I'm trying to figure it all out right now. It's weird.
Yeah, well, you're not alone. We could go on this. We could go off on this as it applies to so many different types of jobs that are gone. And as far as what I do, we don't know anything. I mean, how do you give a concert in a specific venue for what, a quarter of the people? You can't. So I can't even think about it. Right now, I'm not going to think about it. We don't even have to go there because even what we come up with, what we think, what we feel, what we view, it doesn't have anything to do with what's going to happen anyway, except that we can prepare. We can talk and we can prepare.
The last time you and I sat down with microphones in front of us, you came to the WAAF studio because Dream Theater was in town, and we built you a drum set out of everything but drums. That video is the most viewed video that WAAF ever made. It's well over 1 million views and counting of people watching Mike Mangini play a suitcase and sheet metal and trash can lids and to do drum solos.
You know, that's amazing. And the other thing is that when I viewed it to see how it came out, all I could think of is about myself was I'm looking at myself going, can't you like dress correctly and like have your hair right? And people don't like the Patriots. You got a Patriots shirt.
I love that you wore a Patriots sweatshirt. That's the best.
Look, it's just I showed up as if you and I were hanging out. That's what I did. That's just me. I wouldn't try to look any different than I normally would look. I don't know. I'm not very good at. I'm not a good rock star. I tell you that.
Well, I knew that the video was going to take off because you are such a prolific drummer, and in drum circles, there are people that love music and know who Dream Theater is, and then individually, the members of your band are also standalone, amazing musicians and at the top of their craft for every instrument that makes up that band, including yourself. So I knew once drum people got a hold of that video, they were going to be like, he did what?
Oh, it was so much fun. And Sean and Worm did such a great job.
Building that drum set?
Oh, setting that up.
Yeah, it's so awesome.
Seeing LB in there was fantastic, too. It's been a long time.
I know, right?
Last time I ran into him, oh my gosh, it was a way long time ago, but I was in a grocery store in near where AAF used to be. And I forget which one it was, but he saw me. And he just practically goes right through the bag person and picks me up, like grabs me. That's like, all right.
His hands are so big. For anybody that's listening that doesn't know who we're talking about Lyndon Byers, who was a professional hockey player on the Boston Bruins for years and also a DJ at my old radio station, WAAF. His hands were so big and powerful that when he grabbed you, it was like two hams were grabbing you. Like they just, it's not normal, the size of his hands. It's crazy.
You know what's really even more not normal? So how many times did I go out with him in the town? All right, let's just say a good handful of times. We were out and about, okay? And a few times it was the two of us. He goes, oh, I got the limo. I'm going to get you. Like, I'll meet you at Stevie's. Let's go. I'm like, all right. And I go, what is it about guys? I know, like, we're nuts, but, like, people would mess with him. They would, have too much to drink or whatever. And there I am with him. I'm like,
not a good wingman.
To be kidding me. Like, and I'm like, can you just, like, why do you have to challenge one of the toughest guys in the NHL? Just please, just leave. Just say hi. Get him out of it. Leave him alone.
I attribute it to people that look at Everest and want to climb it. It's like
unreal.
If you think you're a tough guy, in his day, LB was the toughest guy in the NHL, and he made a living fighting on ice skates. So how do you think he's going to be when he's flat-footed in sneakers. He's going to be better.
It's
and
outrageous.
People would try to fight him, and it's like, do you not understand what it's going to feel like getting hit by a ham?
It's it'll just kill you. It's just like, it's so, but I was like, I don't get it. And I'm there, and I'm trying to be sane. And it was just when you were out and just, I don't know what it is. But anyway.
It used to happen all the time. It was crazy.
Yeah, well, I've witnessed it. I've had to, just the funniest one. It's like he exploded like 6 people. Like it was like a hornet's nest that got kicked open, and all the hornets went flying out. I'm sitting there going, no, and I grab. I go, what are you doing? Just watch television.
And for a guy like that, he'll break a bone in his hand or something, and it's just LB. He wouldn't even care. But you make a living off of being in being able to be in top physical health because of what you do. So it's like, please don't break my hand.
No. Anyway, so it was great to see him. Oh my gosh! And that episode was a blast. And there you go. And
so when you came up to play that crazy drum set we built for you,
yeah.
One of the things I asked you to do was to play recognizable drum parts from some of the greats.
Yes.
And since you and I were together, we lost one of those greats in Neil Peart. And I haven't spoken to you since then, and it's been a year already that he's been gone.
Yeah, it's just about. It's a heart-wrenching thing, learning from somebody, and the amount of influence that he had on me was profound. I remember different moments in my life. For example, remember the Columbia Record Club? You could order all kinds of records for a penny. Well, you thought it was a penny.
And then they got you with the shipping and handling charges.
Oh, yeah. I was like, handling? What's that? Why is it $1 million? So, I did the Columbia Record Club, and I don't even remember how old I was, 16, 15, I don't know. But I had to have been 16 because I was in Cape Cod. My family had a place there while I was still in high school for a little while. But anyway, I ordered it, and I ordered the Rush A Farewell to Kings album. And, I didn't even have like proper headphones or whatever. I had 2 car speakers that I would put on my bed to listen to music just the way I wanted to hear it, and I wired them up, hooked them up. I put that album on, and I can still picture myself at that moment. And so it was quite profound. Plus, I'll be specific. What he did that was so amazing to me is because I was in school band, and like you play, nobody wants to play the glockenspiel, the bells, and I did the marching band for the football team. That was fun.
Me too.
My
I was
friends,
a marching band member too. Yeah,
so all kinds of fun. But Neil made those percussion instruments cool. He made them cool, and he used the greatest instrument in history. I think it was on Cinderella Man. He used a vibra-slap. I'm like, what is a vibra-slap? I will never forget. I'm reading the back of the LP record. I would just keep reading it over and over and look at the 2 pictures that were there like 35,000 times. And so I'm like, what is that? And when I got back to the school band, they had a vibra-slap, and I just sat there and hit it like 800 times. Anyway, so it was profound, and
And a lot of people obviously know him as just being this amazing drummer. But all of these stories come out about just what an unbelievable intellectual he was when it came to music in general.
Well, I'm glad you said that, because that's what I was going to go to, was to speak about his soul permeating these different things and coming out the same, whether it was the bicycle riding or the motorcycle riding or whatever it is that he did, his car collecting. It didn't matter from what I understood. I never met him, and I never intruded on him. The opportunity was there. Well, I just didn't. I didn't, and I couldn't. I don't know.
I can't go and bother God right now. I'm just going to be over here.
There's just something. I just don't do that. But, yeah, did I want to? Yes, but I didn't. So, but he permeated, that soul has permeated these things. And so it came out like that, no matter what he did, his lyrics, and of course his drumming.
I talked to Kevin Martin from Candlebox, and those guys toured with Rush in the 90s. And one of the things that Kevin talked about was that Neil would watch the band's set as the opener every night, and then he would give them constructive criticism on how to structure their set better and how to move the songs around. And Kevin was like, and he was right. With everything he said, he was right. And these are not things, when you talk about the lyricists or whatever, no disrespect, but they're not usually the things you hear from the drummer of the band.
You know what? It's interesting because that whole set list thing, since I get it, I'm not surprised. Not only that he did that, and I am not surprised that he was right, because that's the thing that when I discuss stuff with drummers that is not maybe something you do a magazine article about. So it's funny you would bring this up. Vegas is great because those are the kinds of things that we do talk about. It's like there's a feel to it. It's just like constructing a drum part. There's something about doing this as a skill that has parameters and protocols that are beyond our intellect maybe, and they are there, and we know that they are there, and we sense whether we're doing it right or not, but it's a drummer thing too. And I miss doing that. I miss putting the sets together. Absolutely.
When you put a set together, because anybody that's ever seen Dream Theater, and if you haven't, there's plenty of video footage out there, you playing that insane kit. Yeah. But on one hand, I would think as a drummer, you would like to sequence the set to give yourself some downtime to physically recuperate. And then on the other hand, you've got to go with what's best for the music.
Well, that's the thing is with that band, I don't get to do that. I don't get to, make an order to the set list. One of the reasons is that the switching of guitars is a major operation. So key signatures dictate more of how the songs go from one another at times. Like it limits the database. That never was the case in any other band I was in. It was more, this is the feeling that we need right now and the energy that we need right now. I never considered because the other bands, the guitarist had a guitar and maybe changed once if it was a different tuning. But Petrucci has a cabinet with him. It's just like an armoire, a mile long, full of guitars with the different tunings, and you got to have two of each because if one breaks, you need the spare. So it's a whole event, and he does it. So,
when's the last time you guys played live together?
It was when we filmed. The night before, the day after we filmed the DVD that we released, Distant Memories. It was in Scotland. It would have been the last February, the last few days in February, or the first couple in March. I don't remember, but call it March 1st. Whenever the lockdown happened, basically I flew home when people were running around the airport in London Heathrow, scurrying with masks on and avoiding each other and just running and trying to get out of there.
And then you come home, and at that point, nobody really, big tours hadn't yet been canceled because people really didn't know what the future was going to be like. And for a guy like you that is always moving, always doing something, you have been home doing something you haven't had a chance to do in a long time, which is slow your life down and domesticate yourself for a while. How has that been for you?
Well, let me make a long list of the good things, because the worst thing is that feeling when you lose your job.
Oh,
right?
I know that feeling.
It is scary.
Yeah, it's really scary.
And when you don't see any light at the end of the tunnel every now and then, or at 3:00 in the morning, it is not a pleasant existence.
Yeah.
But all the good stuff. So there were many, many things that I have I put off. For example, people have been asking for my rhythm knowledge books, which I published in the late 90s, and I took them off the market I don't know, like several years ago, and just didn't feel like, well, next month I'll sell them. I'll put a PayPal button on the website or have someone do it and I'll sell them. Don't worry, everybody. All right, 9 years later, here they are. So it's like, firstly, what's important is that my health. As far as my health is concerned, all of the bones, the dislocations, the tendons that are just destroyed, just all of that, whatever busted in me, has had a chance to heal. And it is pretty strange. Like, wow.
To feel good, right?
Yeah. And I'm like, well, I'm glad I didn't. Well, I listened to this team of doctors, and I did not get that, surgery on the wrist. I didn't get that surgery on the collarbone. I didn't get the surgery on the arm. It's all these things, and they weren't drumming injuries, by the way. Not a single one has to do with drums. They were all yard injuries.
Bizarre gardening accidents. How Spinal Tap of you.
They were bizarre gardening accidents. I'm telling you, I ripped my rib cage right in half 3 days before. The most touring I ever have done, like right in a row, was 2 years, and my rib cage was split in the middle. This bone, I forget what it's called, the xiphoid. It has a really funny name, like the xiphoid process or Siegfried process, and it's a separate bone. It's like angled over. It's not right. My ribs aren't right. This rib was anyway. So all that stuff had a chance to heal. My diet changed. I've always eaten well, but you know what? When in Italy,
I mean, really, how are you gonna say no?
I was eating blocks of Parmesan cheese and wine like it was just Hawaiian punch from 5th grade.
I dream of winning Powerball so I could just eat my way through Italy. That's all I want to do. I just want to eat my way through Italy.
Yeah, so my body healed, my diet changed, my sleep changed drastically, actually, of a decade of, 4.5 hours, get up and fly, or go sleep on the plane. Yeah, right. Great.
That doesn't work.
It just and then go play for 3 hours and burn whatever 1,500 calories, whatever it is, and be the best every night. When someone paid for that ticket, I do want to give them the best, and it's like, wow, this is a big sacrifice to be healthy. But anyway, so my health, let's see, what did I do? Well, I built this whole studio thing that I have, meaning I have an area where I do the bulk of my practicing on pads that is a simulated tiny little, pads, so they don't take up much room and they don't make any noise, and I can do my micromanagement there for my hands and feet, which is really important. It preserves the drum heads here, because on this big drum set, I had to learn a different level of audio engineering. I had to learn video software. I had to learn about filming and lighting, because I'll tell you what, right now, you're seeing things work, but it took me 3 weeks to get the lights in the right place, because I would film one thing and I'd have to throw it out, and it was infuriating, and then the software wasn't quite working and would glitch, and I had
to have... It gives you a newfound respect for the people that have always been there to help you do this stuff, right?
Yeah.
Like with me, the radio engineers, the IT people, the web people. I miss them so much.
Unbelievable. So to give you the short list, so I had to reconfigure this entire drum set, and I have a whole separate Pro Tools rig and computer just to manage this sound, so that when it goes into the computer I'm speaking to you on, that CPU can manage the video part and whatever's happening online. Well, this other CPU can manage the audio, because otherwise the whole thing would crunch. It would be really bad. And you don't know those things. Like, well, I'm going to hook up my computer and I'm going to do podcasts. I'm going to do this. I'm going to do Zoom
Not as easy
classes.
as you think it's going to be.
No problem. So then when you spoke about, so I got to talk about the cameras and getting the equipment, like before or after people, and how that happened. But so I did the kit, and the whole video thing went through like 3 months of changes, and I ended up with this incredible switching system that, again, it processes it out and off the computer. So I can change the angle right now and give you picture-in-picture, and I have an amazing angle from the top, which I can go through. But again, getting that camera in the right place to hold and getting the stuff, the wires to reach it, just to get the proper wiring. It's like, so there's that. I have another, a smaller drum kit that I'm going to start to do some classes from. I can relate to people a little better on that, I think. So I have the studio going. I'm doing the Zoom classes. I had a web person configure that and integrate it so I could announce a class. It would go to my website. People could register. They can pay a certain way. All that took some time. I trademarked my name. It's officially trademarked. I have a logo. That didn't take 10 minutes.
I understand that. Like, these things take time.
Yep. I did, the Zoom classes. Oh, I have the books up and running. I made a store. I actually did a lot of the web building myself for the store to learn it. It's like, okay, so the initial thing was I made a couple of contacts. I made there's one guy who helped me with one thing, couldn't do it, threw me to someone else, and I'm like, hey, I need you for an hour to answer some questions. Okay, well, I said, well, hold on a minute. This is 5 weeks later, and I just launched it today. 5 weeks or something.
It took me months to build mistresscarrie.com because you want everything to look right. It's got to look right on web on your phone versus on a computer and a tablet. You want the user experience to be good. Getting a store up and running where you can actually navigate the e-commerce part of it. I mean, I have so much respect for people that are experts in this field.
I know, and I haven't done any one thing completely by myself, except for all of the engineering and wiring here, which was a learning experience. Plus, I had to have the whole internet thing changed. So I got the gigabit. And
those guys are working overtime installing internet, like high-speed business internet into basically everyone's houses this year.
Well, yeah, and then now everyone on the street has it, and so my signal's like, well, I'm getting 900 gigagoogles coming in, and why isn't it working fast? And so I had to do something a little sneaky. I mean, for me in this house, and kind of drill a hole just to get this particular wire, and it's kind of just under the radar.
You got to do what you got to do, man.
Nobody, Anyway, so I got it all hardwired, and then the whole thing at certain times with let's just say someone in the house just happens to be playing some sort of game. Oh, those things really suck up the bandwidth, because it's like, oh my gosh. Anyway. So I could just keep spewing all along here, so
it's like you get this time off, which you didn't count on, and now you're not just like, for me, the first couple of weeks after AAF went off the air, like, I was just stuck at home because I didn't have a place to go because I wasn't working. Then all of a sudden, the whole world ended up living the same life. So I'm doing the same thing, building the studio, graphics, launching the podcast, doing all this, but you can't work 24 hours a day. And for a touring musician, which comes up on the podcast a lot, like Corey Taylor talked about how strange it was to just be able to go shopping at Home Depot because he's constantly on the road and doesn't have a chance to do the quote unquote normal, domesticated lifestyle kinds of things. And so you've been able to kind of be that guy.
I got a Home Depot story. You don't like it. But before, there's the other things too. For example, just navigating with these people that are in my house called my family. It's really spun around to like, who is this person that's in our zone now? So I've had to be very careful navigating that. Excuse me. When everyone's on different schedules and cooking and so forth. And I actually now have a routine where I finally, again, it's another thing, and I know whatever it sounds, but for me, I'll do this specific kind of practicing. I also pray more. And I've been into that.
Yeah, you've always been a spiritual guy.
But I don't follow through though. I talk about it too much. You know what I mean? You got to do it. You got to do it. So anyway, it's been a nice routine. It's like very meditative. And again, I'll do this micro practicing and just to get that time in. It's a short amount of time because then, I've been on a computer for 5 straight weeks, doing all kinds of things. Well, then I'm not exercising. It's like, I'll do that tomorrow.
And you're throwing a wrench into everybody else's life because everybody's so used to you being gone all the time. And now you're around. And it's like, when are you going back out on tour?
Oh, yeah. Yeah, I know.
Is it almost time for you to leave again?
Well, not that that's ever been said. But with the Home Depot story, check this out. So I needed some stuff, What do you put a drum set on without ruining an area? And how do you make it quiet? Because you can't really, not going to bust into, depending if it's let's say, if I'm leasing a building or something, well, sometimes they let you do things. If it's a house, you can do what you want to your house. So, but still, you don't want to mess with the structure of a home or of a place you lease or rent or whatever it is. So you can't really soundproof. So I had to come up with something just to keep the vibrations down a little bit. Even I don't have to. I didn't have to do it. Don't have to do it. I can just play wherever. But still, I needed some things, and then I got extra gear, and now I have all my studio parts and tons of wires and knickknacks and doohickeys and whatever. So I go to Home Depot, and I also needed some cases. So I'm just sitting there in my hair is literally folded over and tied and like sticking out like this. I have an extra large old Pittsburgh Penguins like bright blue hockey jersey on just because it was just a big warm, something to wear. So I look like the worst thing. I look like homeless without any question. And one of the guy came around the corner. He goes, "Hey, are you, Mike?" I'm like, "Yeah." And I was like, all like weird. I'm like, "Yeah." I don't look at me. He goes, "Oh my gosh, let me get a picture," whatever. I'm like, "This is bizarre." Okay, fine. And it turned out to be a person that worked there has been a really helpful person. They really took care of me. They got things that they didn't have to do. They set me up in a way they didn't have to do, and I took the picture and then stayed in touch, and it's been great.
Well, isn't it?
So for Corey, I'm sorry to interrupt, but for Corey, going in, hey, you never know. Sometimes, I needed when the crazy lockdowns happened, I had to get a spare freezer for one of my family members with the allergies, and it's like, well, I got to stock up on the food. They weren't anywhere. I got a hold of this person. They got me one.
See,
you know what I'm saying?
It shows you, even in the craziest of times, there are amazing stories like that of people going the extra mile to help other people as well.
Yep.
And that's what kind of gives me hope and optimism, because you're seeing all these stories about how people are going the extra mile to help their neighbor, to help their friend, to help someone that needs it. And if, trying to find the silver lining in the craziness that's happened over the last year, there are a lot of examples of that too.
Yep. Yeah, that's another good thing. You see a lot of that and read about it, so it's tremendous. But look at it all, my gosh. So with your setup there, you're
analyzing my setup now.
What's that?
You're analyzing my setup now, which is nothing compared to the rig you got going on over there.
Well, how's that sounding?
Sounds fantastic.
Yeah. Yes, I got a really nice sound going.
I don't need room for a drum kit in here. I mean, I could probably squeeze one in here, but I built it to be, for MCHQ, my studio, I wanted it to feel as much like a radio studio as it could, because that's my norm. So I wanted there to be a comfortable place to hang out. I wanted there to be comfortable places for people to be able to come into the studio. There's a big window. I've never been in a studio that was able to open the window because every radio station had soundproof glass, and this has a window that opens, and so I had to find a way to dampen some of the sound coming through the window. So I got some acoustic window treatments that help block some of the weed whacker, lawnmower, residential noises into the studio.
Oh, yeah.
I had to build out a closet for my archives, which I haven't even begun to start digging through yet. 22 years worth.
Oh my gosh.
But it really does kind of give me that feeling like I'm back in a radio studio. I was able to get everything hardwired. It sounds great in here. I had to learn new audio editing software and kind of figure out the processing of it. And I finally am at the point where I'm like, you know what? It sounds good in here. You know, the podcast sounds good. Everything's moving along. It's good.
Yeah, it's tremendous. And there is a learning curve. When I decided to do the Zoom class thing, and I'm going to expand how I do that. I literally, honestly, like 316 seconds before I clicked the link to join your podcast, I scheduled some classes for like a week from today. And for me to just go in and not take a lot of time to do that I feel well, because it was not that way before. just to do something simple like that, and you think, oh, I'm just gonna,
Well, and right now, people are at home, like we talked about, wanting to better themselves, wanting to learn a new language, wanting to learn an instrument, and especially for kids, learning a new instrument and how to play music is a great thing to be home and doing, and to be able to have the access with professionals. It's not you can't do in-person drum lessons because you're busy. But to be able to find the time in a studio to get on Zoom and to be able to do these classes, it's not only great for you, but it's great for the students.
Yeah, it's been amazing. People have been connecting with me from all over the planet, and it's at first just interesting for them. It's wild because, it would be like, I never had that opportunity. I would have loved the opportunity, especially. You would think you got to pay $100 million for that, but I keep the prices low so people can afford it, so they do it, and it's great. It's a win-win, and it's whatever. It works. You know what I mean? But honestly, I don't even know the full scope of it now, because I'm thinking of opening them up more like a drum clinic. And just have it where I'm not interacting, but people can zip in for like really low loot, and a whole bunch of people can do it if they want, and I can just demonstrate and go that route. So I'm thinking of all these things. Also, I filmed a couple of video courses. I must have filmed them like in August. No, September. Yeah, September, because I went away to make the new Dream Theater album, and when did I do that? That was in October. Yeah, so I finished filming. They're still not up because I have to go get the interface, I have to get the account and do all that, and just to find the right account to do it properly is not the easiest thing in the world as well. And then you talk to people and get help, but they have different suggestions, and they ask questions like, well, does this do that? Well, I don't know. Well, but what about this one? Does that? It's the same thing with like the shop. I get advice and then get in and get help. 8, 9, 10, 13, 14 chat agents later, they finally say, oh, by the way, we can't handle these different size objects. I'm like, what? Like, do you think you would have said that? I think it's somewhere.
I play drums. These things are big.
Oh my gosh! So I had to learn whatever it is. I don't want to keep going on, but I guess by my going on about it, and people listen to this podcast, they get an idea. You ask questions ahead of time. You really have to spend a lot more time than you think doing research and getting help. And then at the end of the day, when you reach a certain point with any of these things, another person just doesn't want to talk to you. Even if you're paying them, they just don't want to talk. You're just like, I've had enough. They give like 30,000 questions.
See, for me, I want to talk to people. That's all I've been doing in lockdown is interviewing people. That's it. That's all I do.
Oh, that's great. Yeah, but when it's like, you would have got real tired of me if you did the studio first and I hadn't done a thing. Like, hey, Carrie, so the input for the where's that?
Trust me, I've got those friends too, like Kaiser, Jag, a few other people that I'm constantly calling about. What do you think about this? And how did you do this? But you know what? Yeah. Like, what I've found is that people that are really good at what they do can appreciate the work that it took to get there.
Yeah.
And they're always willing to lend a hand. And it's what you're doing with your drum classes. It's like you can appreciate someone that values the instrument you love and wanting to get better at it. You can appreciate that.
Actually, last week I found out something unsettling about selling products to certain countries. And I actually contacted several of my peers. Because I knew they had stores. I said, hey, I just want to let you know, I don't know if you found this particular issue, but are you aware of this? It's a tax kind of a thing, and it's way too much work. Like, you wouldn't even want to have a store to deal with some of this
stuff. Oh, you got to fill out customs forms and this and that. It's insane.
It's even heavier. It's heavier stuff, and it's like, they didn't know. So, you're helping each other, and it's unsolicited. I'm just like, hey, thank you for letting me know. And well, let me know what you find out. Okay, I'll help you. You help me. You kind of, you're a big, especially the drum community. We are a subculture. I mean, when it was bustling, we have our own magazines. We have our own conventions. We have our own events. We have our own camaraderie, and we're a really fun group where even if you endorse a particular drum company or a cymbal company or something, you're invited to go out with your buddies that play a different drum because their drum company's taking you out for NAMM. So I can't tell you how many Pearl Drum dinners where I'm hanging out with this guy and that guy, and I'm a fan of them, and you get to meet them, and all of a sudden you have like 500 pounds of sushi show up, and you're like having a little bit of sake, sipping some sake, giggling, talking about stuff. It's just it was so cool. I miss it so much, and I'm not surprised though that people still are helping each other and talking, and we're appearing on each other's live streams and things, and helping out. It's cool. It was really cool.
You and I have talked several times when I was on the radio, and one of the differences between a podcast and the radio is that I have time now to be able to kind of dig a little deeper, go off on more tangents, because I have the ability with this forum where I'm not worried about, I got to get into another song. I got to get into commercials. Like, it's just a totally different mindset from how I used to do interviews. And one of the things that I'd never been able to do with you is I want to talk about your childhood and how you discovered not only that you loved playing the drums, but also that you had the innate ability to be good at it. Because, like, I love the drums, but I don't have the ability no matter how hard I try. And you were like 3 or 4, right? When you kind of realized that drumming was a thing for you?
2.5.
Really? You were that young?
Yeah, that's what they say, but there's footage to prove it. So there's evidence. There are footage. There are pictures. There's actual footage of me, 8mm footage, on my 4th birthday, able to fully play the albums and songs. So yeah, it was there. I can describe it because I remember before I turned 4. I can tell you what I saw and what I thought. That's how clear the memory is. So. Is that what you want to know?
Yeah, so what I want to know is I had a great conversation last summer with Sarah Hagen, who used to work for Zildjian Cymbals.
Oh, love Sarah.
Isn't she amazing? And
Absolutely.
She was talking about a specific drummer that she knew, that when they hear sounds, they attribute them to color, which was something that blew my mind because I never even thought that you would interpret something like that. So when you hear music or beats or whatever, how does your brain interpret it? Is it visual? Is it audio? Is it mathematical? How is it translated into your brain?
I'll tell you. Before I do, I'll say she might have been talking about Bobby Galati, fellow Waltham drummer. Amazing. But he passed away. I heard he would see colors. That's the only person I ever heard of that had that. And there's a name for that condition.
Yeah, she was talking about it. I had never heard of it before.
Probably Bobby, yeah. And he was amazing. A real, dynamic feel jazz cat man, like groovy. And it's just, he had this whole thing. And perhaps that color thing must have been part of that whole thing of his. He was so great. But I don't have that. So what happens with me is it's always visual. It's shape and form. Here's what I mean. I don't know if I was 2.75 years old or 3 and 3 months, 2 and 6 months, whatever I was, right? I remember opening up the LP records on the floor of our dining room in Waltham and looking at pictures of drums. And when my older brother or sister would play music on the record player that was in that dining room at the time, I would go in there and just pull out the records, or they would show me, or whatever it was. I'd just open them on the floor and look at the drums when they had pictures of them, and I could associate the shapes on the drums with the pitches, ascending to descending, like high to low. In other words, most drum sets are all small, so if I was looking at a drum set shaped like this. Let me give you a little bit of something. So if I had like a snare drum and a tom-tom and a floor tom, I was able to assemble, I guess, the thing I was hearing with the shape that I was looking at. I was able to assemble those rhythms and patterns by way of a picture. And that's how I see it now. It's very grid oriented, where I do memorize by shapes still. So if I have to learn an album very quickly, for example, when I recorded for James LaBrie, before I joined Dream Theater, I recorded on 3 of his albums. I had a total of 2 days to set my drums up, a big drum set, in the studio and finish the whole record. And I didn't know the songs any of the times. I got the music ahead of time, but a short bit ahead of time, and it was fragmented. So I had to do it on the spot. What would happen is I would listen to whatever he was able to give me, and with certain beats, I could write down a basic beat with music notation, but that's not what I'm talking about. I would actually I would make a shape the way the drum set looks, and I would actually draw the shape of a drum fill that I wanted to do that I would hear in my head, so I can look at the drum set.
So connecting a line between this drum and that drum, and where it was going?
Literally, quite literally, because if I saw a picture of my shape, I knew what it was, more than reading notes on a paper. If that makes sense, because a bunch of ink dots. I'm like, wow, what is this? I mean, I know how to do it, but it's...
I interviewed Nuno a few weeks ago,
yeah,
and it was shocking to me that he doesn't know how to read or write music.
Mm-hmm.
And hearing you talk, I understand where it's like, if you don't learn that way, like for him, it's all audible, that he hears something and can replicate the sounds from what he hears and be able to play it.
Yeah, he does pretty good, doesn't he?
Yeah, he's
he's okay.
I guess he's okay.
He's okay.
But it's interesting that for somebody like him that's prolific at his instrument, that for him it's audible, whereas what you're talking about is being able to translate it visually and attribute the straight lines and the linearness of what you want to achieve based on the structure of the kit in front of you.
Well, this opens up a discussion. Firstly, he might, through the sense of touch, interpret shape on his guitar, because the shape of the frets, it moves, and shape is everything. Like Plato was right. Everything is shape and form. So I think this breaks down anyway for everybody like this, whether we know it or not, or whether we actually are aware of it or not, or whether we have some interpretation that's different. Whatever it is, there is a shape. So I'm guessing he does interpret it that way, but I don't know. That's for him to say. But as far as rhythm, though, I actually see music notation. It's very helpful. So music notation has its place. It saves a lot of time. For example, my business is polyrhythmic. So you're counting a certain set of notes, all right? And there might be a shape, a pattern on the instrument. Could be 6 notes on the guitar. It could be 6 notes on the drums through 2 on 3 drums. Let's just say it's 2, 4, 6. Well, if I'm counting a bass time, a feel of 5, and the music has da 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 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. It's got this progressive, odd, it's not a pop music kind of thing, but it's got this odd number of notes. Well, if my shape is a different number than the bass rhythm, then I picture the 5 notes in my mind. I can do it right now. I can see 5 black ink dots, like it's music notation. And I know with my mathematics and timetables, if it's 6, well, it's 30 notes later, it's all going to come around, if indeed I want to carry out this whole, quote, polyrhythm. So the bottom line is that I see music notation as well as the shapes on the drums, and this led to me having a difficult time when I put my books together, because I absolutely perceive life in the 4 dimensions we exist: 3 of space, 1 of time. Let me give you an example of what I mean by that. It gets a little deep, but this is how I see things. It's just how
that's why I
do
asked,
it.
because I have never been in a position to be able to ask you to really kind of drill down on how you think about this. Okay. But as people watch you play these amazing drum solos on that unbelievable kit with Dream Theater, it's like, I can't even fathom how you can get to that point. So I want to know this stuff.
Okay, well, what it is this. Picture, on Photoshop. Actually, you probably know with a multi-track audio, you and I are each a separate track, and you can layer them together. So picture Photoshop, and you have 5 layers, and you put them on top of each other at the end of the day, and end up with a picture. Like movie editing, what we see is fake. It's not real. There's no bomb going off in this. It was done on a green screen, but you layer it together. So check this out. What happens is I forcefully think about my bass time. Let's just say it has 7 notes in it or something. And I can see the music notation in my head, quite literally, because I make myself do it. Well, I have that picture in my mind while I have the reality of seeing these drums in front of me. So it layers in a bizarre kind of way. And I also am layering my audio and my thoughts. In other words, I can hear I can hear my voice in my mind. I can hear my metronome in my mind. But I can also hear myself saying, okay, hit the kick and hit both. Like hit the foot and then hit the hand and the foot. And I'm actually speaking those commands because I'm looking at my drums. I'm seeing what it is I'm putting together with my limbs, and I'm saying it. I learned to do that. I've got an unbelievably great example and story from what taught me to do that. It was a Learning Channel show I was watching. But without going off on that tangent right now, I'm hearing, let's say, a metronome in my mind. I'm hearing my voice in my mind. I'm linking them up. I'm hearing the reality of what I'm playing. So that's 3 things I'm managing in a specific order. My main focus is the bass time, because that's what I do for a job. Okay? If I have to link up to the computer behind me and a metronome on it, or time sync, like a click or a sound, to video live, or wherever it is, it might be external time. It could be a metronome, click, click, click. I'm practicing to. It's external. My selective attention is prioritizing that. Then my, let's just say, ambient attention, these things that the brain is capable of doing, I'm thinking about what I'm saying in my mind in real time. Like, all right, look at John. Turn and look at John at some point in the show while I'm thinking, oh my gosh, there's 13, 15, 17, 13. All right, well, then it goes into 16, but you got to put 12 notes against the 16. It's that complicated. It is that, to get a Dream Theater show right, when it's synced up to video and all those things, that's what it's taking me to do it. It's out of control. So I have to access all this to be able to do it. And essentially my audio, priority 1 is the external time. Priority 2 is my voice and commanding my body. Priority 3, all right, I'm watching where I am on the drum set and counting or keeping track of how many hits I'm doing or what section of the song I'm in. Okay, this is the 3rd chorus now. Don't double it because you're going to have to go into this solo section next. And I can hear my voice in my mind going, the solo section's coming up. Look at John Mayung. The solo section's coming up. Look at John Mayung. Night after night after night until I end up just going to the solo section and looking at John Mayung, not even knowing that command now is deep in my head and I don't have to think it so much. So
a dumbed down equivalent. Well, a dumbed down equivalent would be for somebody that commutes every day. And they make the same commute and the same route every day and the same drive. And they get to the point where they just drove for 15 minutes of the same route in the same day and they don't even remember doing it because they didn't even have to think about it. It's like that's what you're talking about.
Yes, and this brings up an unbelievable point for musicians that talk about this a lot. Like, don't think too much, don't think too much. Well, no, wait a second. If I could hook up a switch to my brain and turn myself off from me, especially at night or in the middle of the night, trust me, I would get that switch to just shut me up and off. I really would. I do not. You can't. How do you get away from yourself?
You got to log off every once in a while.
Oh my gosh. So if I could, I would. So the point is, it's not possible to not think the issue that turned my life around to make me a much better teacher and make me get way better, way more quickly at different things was to understand, well, I'm going to do a ton of thinking ahead of time. I'm going to do my homework and my preparation and my practice. I'll do all the thinking there in the right order now that I've studied cognitive science and taught, and now I'm at this point in my life where I really, really know the order. So I'm going to think a lot so that I don't have to do the thinking at some point.
In the moment.
Yeah, like when the tour starts going, it's like that's a mistakes and things, and the lights might fire off weird, or I might miss something, or whatever it might be.
With all that preparation ahead of time and the layering of the thoughts and the repetition and all of that, does it allow you in the moment to enjoy the experience of playing in front of the crowd? Like, do you get to the point where you've practiced it and thought about it so much that you can actually experience it in the moment, the crowd yelling, your band members enjoying it, like when you're in the zone at a good show?
Yes.
Can you actually enjoy it?
Yes, but it takes a lot. It takes a lot of work to do that because, and it depends. It depends on the gig. It really depends on it because I've done the like the charity one-offs with Steve and Tyler and Skunk and Franny and Barry from Boston and Johnny A. and a group of people. And, there's not a big production there. I'm not tied into any external time. I'm just going up and jamming music. And sometimes it's just open. It's like, well, let's just go into the section, watch me. I'm like, okay. So I might have a little square piece of paper taped on the bass drum hoop, that's just might outline the song, or maybe it doesn't. It's just a 2-3 part song, whatever. But yeah, I can enjoy that kind of thing more easily because there's less to do. It's not like, 1 billion watts of lights and video and everything is perfectly timed. And when a sword goes and hits a rock and goes doink, then there's a noise for that's on the video. And I have to make sure that that doink happens exactly with my drum or my snare drum, or it sounds like a flam. It sounds awful. And so that's a big responsibility. It's like I enjoy it when it's over.
That you pulled it off.
That I pulled it off.
Yeah.
And when I'm relieved of a lot of these things, my mind is more free to look around. And it doesn't take me that long. For example, early in the last Distant Memories tour, I used clear rocket toms. Now, those are the things up here, and if I switch for you...
Oh, you're going to... Oh, Ooh, so you're showing me now.
Isn't that cool?
You have a video switcher in your studio, and you're showing me a camera that you have mounted on the ceiling.
Yeah.
And literally, it's your head and every piece of gear in your studio. I mean, how many drums are 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9 drum, 10, 11, 12, 13 drums, 14 cymbals. Like I can barely see you in there.
Yeah. Well,
keyboards.
You have the bird's eye view because in the videos that I made and the classes that I teach a lot by shape, and you can see see the triangle. If I go this way, there's a triangle there, and there's a triangle on the other side of the kit. So I might have a pattern that does this, one hit on each drum, and then one with each foot. So it's this. So if I do a fill and I draw like a butterfly, it means this. Where it's like I have the butterfly wings. Can you see what I mean?
Yeah, no, I understand it now that you point it out. But visually, I don't even, I wouldn't have thought of that until you showed it to me. My brain just doesn't work that way. And one of the things, I know it can be taught, but I know it's also the same part of the brain that succeeds in language and math in a lot of ways. And that has never been a strong suit of mine. I know those things can be taught. I'm not a math expert, but I'm really good with money.
You see,
and language, I'm not great at it.
I'm not.
But I know how to swear in 5 different languages.
Yeah.
I can pick these little things.
Yeah.
So when you're a kid,
yeah,
and you're opening those records in the dining room and listening to the record player, and you're 4 or 5 years old playing to songs, what was the first concert that you went to where you were able to watch someone do what you're doing now and thought, okay, that's what that really is. That's what I need to do?
Well, the first one that did that to me wasn't the first one that I saw. The one that did that to me was Rush on the Hemispheres tour. All right. It was just it was a, whoa, what is this kind of a thing? And the lights, and they were playing music, and the bass drum was being hit, and my stomach was going, ew, but the first concert I ever saw, my brother took me, I probably performed because I was in all the school bands. So how about that? So I was actually a performer before I saw anything really. But my brother took me at 9 years old to see Buddy Rich. And I was like, whoa, I want to do that. I can do that. I can move fast. And he bought me his albums, and I sat in the basement at age 10 and started. Well, by the time I was, that probably took a year for me to learn some of those songs. But I mean, that's not that bad at that age to learn that guy.
No big deal. I'm 10 learning Buddy Rich stuff.
Yeah.
No big deal.
I mean, I could go fast, so that wasn't the biggest issue. And who knows? There's no way I was playing that exactly right. I doubt. Well, maybe I did. I don't remember that part. But even if I didn't, so what? I thought I did. That's what was important.
Well, and at the time, you're setting a lofty goal for yourself. You're trying to push yourself forward with the skill that you're trying to learn.
It's like
why not set the goal high?
He's the best drummer they ever live, and I got in the basement, and I'm going to do it. I'm going to be able to play that. I'm going to do it. I know because I saw myself able to do it. If that makes any sense, I just saw it as a possibility. I could, who and what do I want to be? Well, what I am, I don't know that we can change what we are, how we're made, so to speak, but we can change who we are. We can evolve, and then we can also change our skills and a bit of what we do, so we can change those things. It's not like I am who I am and that's it. Like, no, I don't want to be who I am. I got things I need changed in about 10 minutes. Hello? So anyway, it was Buddy Rich. As far as seeing the drums like that, and then seeing Rush was was incredible because I had prior to that is when I bought a Farewell to Kings from the Columbia Record Club and put the car speakers in my ear on a bed in Eastham, Cape Cod, and just vegged out and was like, Xanadu, what is Xanadu? The honeydew, like what are these guys talking about? This is great.
One of the conversations that I had 3 different guitar players on in one episode. I had Doc Coyle from Bad Wolves and Mark Morton from Lamb of God and Chris Traynor from Bush. And I brought that conversation up to Nuno because what they talked about was you could use a guitar player's guitar, strings, amp, wires, pedals, be in the same room, play the exact same song, and you're not going to sound like the person. And Nuno talked about how Eddie Van Halen gave him the opportunity to play his gear once, and he was disappointed that he still sounded like himself and didn't sound like Eddie when he played Eddie's stuff, because he was like, if I'm ever going to live my dream of being able to sound just like Eddie Van Halen, it would be in this moment. And he still sounded like himself, which, again, not that, was poor you, Nuno.
Yeah. You know what? I don't know that he knows this. Eddie said the same thing to me about him. Because when Gary was in the band, we would always typically have the same weeks off. I was off with Steve Vai, and he was off tour with Van Halen. So I was always, and I mean always, up at 5150. It was the point Eddie gave me the codes to the gate. I could come. I went in and came and went as I pleased to Eddie Van Halen's house. Can you imagine that? I'm pulling up. I know the codes to get in the gate. I go right in.
I'm sitting here just shaking my head at you going, are you kidding me?
No, I have some stories from that. Oh my gosh, what fun that was. But I was speaking to him, and because he at one point I was there just hanging out, talking to Gary all the time, and we would go in the studio and hang out and whatever. And then Eddie was generous enough to give me the studio. I had no place to go to practice for 2 weeks before a tour. He said, "Here, take your stuff, put it in there, and just go and play." It was amazing. But what he said to me one day was, he's like, yeah, that He-Man Woman Hater, how does he do that? Oh, man, I love that. How does he sound like that? I can't do that. That is what he said to me. About Nuno.
Does Nuno know that story?
I don't know.
Because after the conversation he and I had a few weeks ago, obviously talking about the immeasurable loss of Eddie Van Halen to the music industry, but also for Nuno, who holds Eddie at the top of his Mount Everest, that I don't know if he knows. I bet that would floor him that Eddie Van Halen was asking how Nuno did something on an Extreme record.
Yeah, or more like, I can't sound like that. How does that happen? And it's a vague memory specifically, but what he I don't know that he said, well, I can't do that. I don't know how, but he mentioned He-Man Woman Hater, and he said, how does he, something like, I can't do that, or I don't do that. I don't remember the specific words, but it was, I can't do it, or I don't do it, or I whatever. But it was, no, he doesn't sound like Nuno. he can't. Whatever the exact words were. I'm just trying to be careful these days because.
Yeah, no, because you get quoted and it turns into a tweet. And it's exactly
it turns into something.
Yeah, no, but I understand that there was. It's amazing that mutual respect from a guy like Eddie, who was held in such regard by a guy like Nuno, that Eddie also recognized Nuno's ability, and that Nuno is so quick to give the credit right back to Eddie and be like, I wouldn't be anywhere near the guitar player if Eddie wasn't there to kind of plow the road for us.
Yes, Steve Vai did the same thing. He did the exact same thing. He spoke about Eddie and Nuno like they were from another planet, and Steve was so kind and generous. He is anyway, but he would be specific and say things that these guys could do that were just amazing, and he was so kind. And one day when I don't remember what I was doing when I was with Steve in his band. It might have been recording Ultrazone record or something. I don't even know what it was, but I was in the studio, and somehow Eddie Van Halen was on the phone with me. I think what would have happened is I would have called Gary or tried to get to him. And Eddie picked up. I think that's what it was. So I
that
called
happens all
over
the
there.
time when I call Gary. And he just accidentally picked up the phone.
He was living there, but Gary was living on the property.
Yeah.
So Eddie would, call, who's that? Oh, it's Mike. Hi. And I'm sitting there yapping to him. And I remember Steve didn't know. Steve goes, would you get off the phone? Like, who are you talking to? Like, hurry up. Whatever it is we were mixing or doing. I said, well, it's Eddie. He goes, Eddie who? I mean, Eddie Van Halen. He goes, what? Just hold on a minute. Like, Eddie, oh, hey. Yeah, Steve says, hi, hey, how you doing? Anyway, but the point being, it's the same thing. They all like, it's like the trifecta of greatest guys ever, to play the instrument, all like speaking these wonderful words about each other. So it's just great. It's just great to be in the middle of it all three of them.
Right?
Yeah.
So for a drummer like you are one of those drummers that, drummers look at and go, oh, that feel, that fill, that sound, that style. So unfortunately for you, with every record and every move forward, you have to reinvent yourself to a certain point, which brings me to your recent Facebook post about how you recorded the drum tracks for the new Dream Theater record. So what I want you to explain to me is, do you start with these shapes and this thought from scratch, and do you have to build a whole new drum set and work with Pearl and work with Zildjian and work with all of these companies that you work with, that before you can go in the studio and record it, you're rebuilding the mechanism for you to be able to do it? Is that how you work?
I actually have done that with Dream Theater, yes. And this latest one is like nothing. It's like nothing I've ever played. Let's see, I have to think. Gosh. Oh my gosh, it's probably in my childhood that I played something like this. I don't want to give too much away.
No.
Nobody knows yet, but
right.
Yes. And so, yes, the companies have been so helpful. Because in fact, part of the reason why I get all the gear that I get is because I have come up with things out of necessity that they didn't think of. So they made new products that they're able to go sell. And so it's a good deal. I make something and then they go ahead and make it into a product and sell it, but I get lots of them. I don't have to buy them, so to speak. But in essence, nothing's for free. I mean, I work very hard to get all this stuff. It's not like I get this big drum set and I got it for nothing. No, that's no way. I worked really hard and did a lot of promo, and they sell a lot of these, and you know what I'm saying? So
working to get it to sound a certain way. And so from muscle memory, you write this new Dream Theater music.
Oh yeah, let's get back to that. Sorry.
So no. But it all ties back with what I'm saying. So you're going to work on new music, but you got to work on new drums and new gear to get the new music to sound the way it's going to sound.
Actually, the drum set has come first in most cases. In most cases, all but one, the drum set has come first because for my first Dream Theater album, I brought 4 bass drums in, and the reason why, it wasn't just to be obnoxious and drive these people crazy. It's like, what do you need that for? It's the reason why is because to go faster with feet, the drum can't be a John Bonham sounding bass drum, and so but I like that John Bonham sound. I like the simple thing and the big sound. I don't have to play a zillion notes. The fact is, I hear them. I can't help it, and I can. I worked really hard to be able to. So why not have my feet able to make a sound that I hear in my head? What's the big deal? I just happen to need some different kick drums to do that, whatever. So that's what I set up. And it turned out it really wasn't where Petrucci wanted to go. So I used them, but then that got lost on the next record, or the next record after that. And it evolved, and I dumbed the kit down, and then I added some things, and it had to do with touring. Like I had to add cymbals to play, and some of the sounds to play the old songs that I wasn't on.
That's what I'm leading you to. So as you're trying to recreate new sounds for new songs, you still have to be able to replicate the old stuff, and with what you've already talked about, is that muscle memory and how your brain works with the shapes. You almost have to relearn the old songs with the shapes.
Okay, here are two really crazy things about that. First of all, you did ask a question about 8 hours ago, and I never answered it with this. I've gone off on 3 different tangents right in the last 5-10 minutes. I actually have a bit of a standard database of drum beats and sounds and things that I will stick to so that I sound like me in Dream Theater. And I don't go off the grid of how Mike Portnoy sounded too much. Do you know what I mean? Like there's a standard set of beats and things that works. It would be like if I went, played an extreme tune. Well, what would happen is I would have a protocol for that. I would actually play it differently these days, differently than I actually played it when I was in the band. When I was in the band, it was just at a point in my development that I wasn't at where I am now. So now I would go back and there would be no like strict click, for example, in a lot of places, and I would lay it back, and the drum fills would probably be a little bit lazy. They wouldn't be as like spot on a grid timing as they are with Dream Theater, only because with Dream Theater, the other guys are playing like that. That's musical for Dream Theater. That's what's musical for the things that we are doing. Maybe they wouldn't have done that before me. Whatever, it's irrelevant now because now I'm there, and the 5 of us morphed into something. And so that's what I do. And so I definitely wouldn't do that with an extreme track, for example. So I have a set protocol. So to answer your question, it's not that I don't go in and just play. There sort of is a sound that goes with the band that I'll stick to. Well, I'll do a double bass, this kind of double bass thing, or this kind of snare drum on the beat thing, or this kind of backbeat thing. So if I break drumming down to 6 or 7 basic beat genres that you could put in a song, well, then I pick these 4 basic things and then build off it. So it's not like it's not random. It's based on a language that fits the genre. And there was another thing you asked. What was it? I forget.
about the gear.
The gear and
how the drum set, like being able to replicate the old stuff and reinventing the new stuff.
Yeah, that's a problem. Because I have to have all this stuff that you see to do that. So I'm gonna try to do it with a lot less in this next round. If I have to even play the old material, I might do that. So that leads back to your question about the gear and the companies and everything. Yeah. So for this album, we thought about what we wanted to do first, and I got in discussions with John Petrucci because he is the producer of the band. He had some ideas, and I was like, okay, let me think about that. And so it took us a little bit. I reconfigured a whole new thing, and it took work. And I had to talk to Pearl. Like, do you have any of these, Eludium Pure 38 explosive space modulators obstructing my view of Venus.
Where's the earth-shattering kaboom?
Earth-shattering kaboom. Wait a minute. Here it is. That's a big drum. Ooh, you like that? That's the gong drum. I guess I could take the camera angle it down, but no one's going to see it. But this one in my studio has a timpani style head where Mike Farris from Pearl actually had to go and build this with a drill and a screwdriver and stuff. And glue, whatever he used, and rubber and metal. And
a timpani is one of those big. It looks like a kettle drum. When you go to see the symphony, and you see the guy back there, and he's like rolling with the mallets, and it's the big. That's the beat for the 1812 overture on the Esplanade with the fireworks. It's that big floor drum.
That's it, and the drum head goes over the shell. It's not like a regular drum head where the drum head is tight to the shell. It goes over and stretches, so the lugs have
like you're putting saran wrap over a bowl.
Yeah, it's exactly right, but it pulls out. It extends 2 inches beyond the shell, all around the drum. So there's a different mechanism that had to be custom made. Anyway, so I have to work with people to get stuff like this made, and it's the shape in my mind, and then I draw pictures, and I'm also hearing it. I'm trying to visualize how I would play certain things, because I know where I wanted to go with this. Because when I do that, the thing is, for these albums, for my Dream Theater audition, I never practiced on them. The Dream Theater audition, that kit was set up specifically that day in an oddball way I had never, ever even attempted to play before, which, might be a little mind-blowing. But the first time I played it was...
It's like a race car driver driving the Indy 500 in a car set up for someone else.
Exactly what it was. And its steering wheel's in a completely different place. That's exactly what that was. I haven't played a kit like that configuration since or before. Absolutely not. In fact, these little puppies here, those rocket toms, the hamster tubes, again, the clear ones I use.
They're the ones that hang above your head. Yeah, I
never finished my story about that. I have clear ones, and I call them hamster tubes, and Pearl's like, don't do that. People won't. And we did, though. If you go see the Pearl drum video of me explaining the distance overtime drum set, the emerald chrome green kit, I did say, yep, and I got the hamster tubes behind me. Those guys were all giggling during the filming. Like, we had to film it twice. Like, don't say that. I'm like, okay, I won't say it. And I said it anyway, and they were trying not to laugh.
Why don't they just market it and brand it as the Mike Mangini hamster tube drums?
I know, they're clear. That's what I think is the clear tubes that a hamster goes in. Why? I got a crazy creative mind. Anyway, but for the Dream Theater audition, I had to fit 2 of those under a cymbal. They were really hard to reach because the stand didn't push the drums close enough to me where it was comfortable. So I'm like reaching like this, going, oh, please, God, don't miss the drum. And my ride cymbals were 67 feet in the air. I'm like playing. I never did that before. So with the new Dream Theater album, I never played that kit. I got in the room and it was like, how are we going to do this? So when I go to do we're writing songs, and I came up with new things because of the drums. Like the shape of the drums gave me some new ideas. And what I would normally play with my body by rote, I couldn't do it anymore. So it was like half my body that would be playing righty while the other half played lefty. Was, okay, that's not going to happen. It's actually going to reverse right now. So thank God that I can do every single combination there is.
You'd make a really good helicopter pilot, because you can get all 4 of your appendages to do something completely isolated simultaneously. That's not a normal skill set that...
Nope. Are you seeing that picture?
Yeah, so you're giving me your overhead view of your drum kit again.
Yeah, so it's like I could play like a few different, a couple different time signatures and patterns that you don't think have anything to do with each other. Like check this. This is gonna look at what I'm about to do is probably, I don't know. Maybe somebody could learn it in a year. Maybe it would take them 11 years. Maybe they couldn't even do it ever. I don't know. If I'm a good teacher and they're a great player,
so
maybe
much
they can
math
learn it.
that's coming with this drum beat. I
but
can
it's
tell.
like, yeah. What if I told you what I was thinking? So my point being,
so
I'm gonna
do that for me.
I'm gonna play this.
Yeah.
But here's the thing. This is the kind of thing that would make a kid at a drum clinic look at me and maybe think in his mind, that guy stinks. That sounds terrible. That's a terrible thing musically. So it's like, so listen, let me just make up something that utilizes. Hold on. So you hear that time, right?
Yeah.
And you would think, boom, boom, boom. Is the beat? Oh, it's not. My beat is 5. I'm going to be da 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 da. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Watch this. So there's 5, right? There's 7 notes in the space of the 5. So there's 7 notes. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 1 in the space of the 5. Now. So then I played 7 times 3 or 21 in groups of 3s within the 7s, but those are in the place of every 5, and the 4 notes with the feet were also in the place of the 5. So those took 20 notes to turn around. Well, you know what I'm saying? The math, and I saw it all to the point that I don't have to, that I can just do it without even, just watch this, without even, here it is. Like I didn't have to get this going and that going and get the 5 and the 4. So there's like 4 different rhythm components to that. I'm going to switch my camera. Hold on.
Well, no, don't switch your camera yet, because I want to ask you, so what you were describing about the things that you're saying in your head.
Yeah.
Can you play and say the things you're thinking at the same time, or are you thinking so fast that you can't say it? Because I want you to. There's too many layers.
Oh yeah, I'll do it. I can.
Yeah, do it, because I want to hear what your brain is thinking when you're doing this. If you can talk fast enough.
Okay. Can I talk fast enough? Did you really ask me that?
I know.
Okay. All right. So the first thing I'm thinking is an advanced version of 5 without having to say the numbers. Meaning, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. 1. I'm just thinking, daka 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 daka. And my voice in my head is going 1 and 2 and 3, 1 and 2. It's in binary, 2 and 3, 1 and 2 and 3, 1. Meaning I'm doing on, off, on, off, on, off, on, off, on. It's zeros and ones. Don't forget I was a software engineer. So it's 1 0 1 0 1. 1 0 1 0 1 1 0 0, or 1 2 3 4 5 1 2 3 4 5 1. So I'm thinking it's music to me now. It's not math anymore. And now I'm hearing this as a sequence, a mathematical sequence. It's 1 2 3 4 5 1 2 3 4 5 1 2 3 4 5 1 2 3 4 5 1. The sequence is 1 2 3 4 1 2 3 4 5 1 2 3 4 5 1. It's really, in and of itself, is maybe a couple of years of work to get your brain to be able to be comfortable with that. So I'm following the way that 3 out of every 4 notes, meaning 1 2 3 4 1 2 3 4. I'm following the way the sound of those boom boom booms fit within the framework of the sequence of 5. So it's 1 2 3 4 5 1 2 3 4 5 1 3 4 5 2 3 4 1 2 3 5 1 2 4 5 1 3 4 5 2 3 4. So I'm actually hearing it. But my music part is thinking the on-off binary. So now, I'm gonna automate it and just hear da, da. Now da. Now it affords me the luxury of being able to go, well, what do I want to fit in here? How about 7? That would be fun. 1 2 3 4 5 6 7. And so I'm thinking duck da doom duck da ding da doom da doom. And on its own would sound like this. Which is a really cool beat. It's not normal. It's progressive, right? It's 7. It's odd. But anyway, can I switch the camera? Or I'm going to do that again.
No,
let me do it again.
Okay.
Okay. So it's I have a foot camera too, but you can see my feet, right?
Yeah, I can see your feet.
Okay. So, hold it. 1 and 2, I can even improvise with that while a piece of my brain is managing the rest of it because I put 800 million hours into it.
My brain just cramped. Well, look, it's like I feel.
Look, I'm not that good at this. I just put a lot of time in and became proficient. That's all.
Well, no, but it's interesting to hear how it is that it sounds in your head, which is what I'm trying to get to, because every single person tackles whatever they're proficient at in a way, in a language that only they understand in their own head. That you're making these connections and it sounds in your head like I can't climb in your brain and like look around.
Right.
This is as close as I can get.
Yep, I got to explain it.
Not only because I'm not a brain surgeon, but because I'm scared to death of what I would find in that cavity you have.
Yeah, I know you know. So, the other thing I'm thinking of is I'm thinking right side. I'm meaning when I'm doing this, making that sound, a thought in my brain is both. When I'm doing both here or both here. And so whatever I'm seeing my limbs do physically, I'm saying as well. Whoa, which brings me to the memory that I wanted to tell you the story of how I found this stuff out, which is really wild, about speaking commands to the body. Can I do that, or do you have any more questions about?
No, you're good. No, go.
All right, so do you understand the part about a little kid in the front row to drum clinics looking at me play this? Or even on my, you know what? I posted something like this on my YouTube channel. And so I hear there are some comments on there. Like I stay away from reading almost
well,
all.
If you
really
read the
do.
comments about the drum video that you did with the suitcase in the AAF studio, some of the people commenting were that I was flirting with you and that I was trying to steal you away from your wife. Like people were like, Mike's wife better look out because she's got her eyes on. And I'm going, oh my God. Like it just shows how stupid people can be in the comments on stuff like,
oh my gosh.
Come on, man. It's just because we know each other in a way that's not just professionally, that we've been friends for a really long time.
Yeah, I know that. You should have typed, hey, I knew him first. I don't whatever. No, I don't know. Just whatever people, they are what they are.
Yeah, so stay out of the comments.
So I stay because there's also there's still incredible, there's just a small bucket, like a Home Depot bucket of people that just hate me in that band. They don't want me in that band because it's not what they know. I get it. Right. I get it. It's like, I just never will accept anything or anybody. Okay, fine.
And so there's nothing you can do about it, so you just move on.
Yeah. So I don't look. But apparently, I posted something like this from the Astonishing album session. Yeah, I did, and it's actually this. Oh, it's just this pattern here. Okay, I played all the crazy stuff I just played for you, but let me put the camera back. But look what I did with the feet.
Oh, God. So I'm going to have to describe what you're doing for the people that are listening.
This is outrageous.
So.
Well, what I did is I played that pattern where it's both right, both left. But I moved my feet around in shapes. So I did this shape, this shape, this shape. So I moved my feet around 4 pedals like this.
So you have 2 sets of pedals, 2 on the left and 2 on the right. And depending on where your body is, sometimes to play your hi-hat, you're playing a pedal on the right or on the left.
Or on the left, righty or lefty.
Which is completely. Most drummers have 1 hi-hat pedal. You have 2. It depends on where you're at over there.
Yeah, it's completely symmetrical. So watch the feet. I'm going to take, and so you can see my hands. Watch this. So it's shape A, shape B, shape C. So I'm moving 3 shapes. All it is this pattern. So now I can actually do that in 5 with that other pattern with 7 against it too. Which is it's just off. It's just gonna sound terrible, but it's so advanced. Hold on a minute, let me give this a shot. I think I get it. Actually, I'm seeing it in my brain first. I'm doing this multi-layered, quick brain thing, which has gotten me in trouble opening my big mouth saying things I shouldn't say my whole life. So I should have kept
That's what this podcast is for you to say things you shouldn't say in your whole life.
I should have. I should have kept my big trap shut so many times. Not on the drums, not on my main, but in life, I should have. Anyway. That was correct. So that whole pattern that has, let's see, 4, 8, 12, 16. That's a 16-note pattern that would, if in 5, it would take 5 times 16 for it to all work out together and come back on 1 where this happens again. This one, this one, this one, and this one. And then if I played my hands and all those crazy time signatures against that, it's just, what would that sound like? It would just be just gross. Let me think. All right, wait. Oh no! All right, I have to get an image in my head of each little chunk first. That might take me.
You're going to spend the rest of the day locked.
No. That would take a couple. That would take a couple of minutes. That's a long time for me. My body's prepared to play a lot of stuff. Okay.
So when you're working on stuff like this, and as we talked about with all of the members of Dream Theater that are at this elevated level of expertise of their given instrument, normally, if Dream Theater wanted to work on a record, there would be ideas, and there would be tracks, and there would be jamming, and there would be this and that. With this new record, did COVID change and make that process more difficult, or was a lot of this prep stuff done before the virus hit?
Oh, no, the album, it was October, so COVID had been raging and all kinds of other things and travel restrictions and craziness. Absolutely. Well, let me see. Did it affect in the remote? Only, we had protection up and all that, and we had these like panels brought in with plexiglass and the whole bit.
But I mean, like the work before you get to the studio.
Oh,
like No. You guys are always used to working separately and then kind of getting together, but it didn't change the normal Dream Theater workflow because of COVID.
Yeah, no. The normal Dream Theater workflow is we show up. Well, at least this one and the last one, and we just write it on the fly. People show up with ideas, but not that many. Not that many, just a few. Records prior, people would show up with way more ideas, but then it was a lot less of a group thing. Like my first Dream Theater album, A Dramatic Turn of Events, I wasn't even invited to be a part of any writing. They sent me music. I went in and basically, they sent it ahead of time, but you don't send it's like a 12-minute song with 83 parts that are just ridiculously complex, X amount of days before a session. Something like that would take like a month to configure. So I just don't bother. I write some notes and try a couple things and show up, and I literally learn it on the fly and play it on the fly and record it and move on to the next thing. Because that's how I prepared my body, Carrie. It's like I made sure that my 4 limbs were as strong as they could be, and there'll always be a weak link, and I'll always be a right-handed person, but I tried to configure so I could manipulate these 4 limbs into 24 different combinations, meaning it's there's really 12 limb pairs, not 6 that we have, meaning, you might think I'm crazy saying I have 2 pairs of hands. Imagine what that sounds like. But you see, to my brain, as a drummer, my right hand leading ahead of my left like this is way different to my brain than my left hand leading my right like this. The other side of the drum set, lefty and righty, they couldn't feel any more different. So to my brain and I think everyone's brain, I truly believe that statement is correct. That you have a right and left hand when you're playing right-sided, and a right and left hand when you're playing left-sided. Yeah, well, left and right.
4 sets of 4 sets of hands.
So I have 4 of them.
4 hands, 2 sets
but
of hands,
not 2 rights and not 2 lefts. Anyway, imagine people listening to this; they're pulling their hair out right now. Who's this guy? Does he play simple drums? Yeah. The crunch, Zeppelin, that's actually not simple.
Well, when I have conversations with people like you, or when I have conversations with military-minded people that are far superior in an expertise of something, I always try to find an analogy to it. So for someone that, say, is in construction, or someone that's in design, when you cook or you're a chef, they talk about the triangle of your cooking space, the refrigerator, the sink, the stove, and the proximity with how you're moving your body in that perfect kitchen triangle. Wow. And this is the kind of stuff that you're talking about, that it's how you're interacting with the stuff in the space and how it aids in the movement and for you to be able to move forward. You're cooking a dish, and if you move the sink and the stove and the fridge, you're going to move your body differently to cook that dish than you would if you cooked it in someone else's kitchen.
Right.
Yeah.
I got it. Yeah,
I get it.
That's why you do what you do.
Yeah, we're Italian. Attribute it to food, and I understand.
And actually, you know what it brought up to me? I have to make a slight correction, because when I did go to check the AAF YouTube comments, the video, I happened to see this one. someone said, he did rock and roll wrong. It comes in a beat 3, not beat 1. Like, that person's correct. But if they didn't understand, of course someone had to say that. The reason why I said 1, 2, 3, 4, 1 was for you and for listeners, because you would relate. If I throw it in beat 3 like it really is, and I didn't sit there and explain it. Now, what do I got to do? I got to explain it.
Do we got to analyze
buddy,
how you're playing Led Zeppelin on a suitcase and a trash can?
Oh my! That's what I'm saying. It's like people got to make these comments. It's like, but he was right.
Yeah.
He was right, because it really goes like this. It's 1, 2, 1, 2, 3, 4, 1, 2, 3, 4, 1, 2, 3, 4, 1, 2, 3, 4, 1, 2, 3, 4, 1. So that it lands on 1. That's exactly where it is. Yes, it comes in off a beat 3. But I was like, with the buckets, I'm like, okay, 1, 2, 3, 4, we go 1. I just wanted to communicate to you. It wasn't perfect. I'm not perfect. Stop it. Gosh. So,
oh my God. So before I let you go, you have so many different things with your books and your Zoom classes and obviously everything that's going on with Dream Theater. But one thing that lends itself to this whole conversation that we're having is I want to talk about that art that you have.
Oh, yeah, right here.
Yeah.
It's right here.
Because you have this schematic drawing of your drum set, like a blueprint. So if you're a machinist and you're, or you're an architect or whatever, you have this, it looks like you're applying for a patent, and it's this sketched out like drawing of your drum set.
Oh, the latest one, yeah.
Yeah, and then there's those amazing swirling graphics, and that's basically you with like glow-in-the-dark drumsticks playing, and the camera slowed down so you can see the patterns and the swirls of your movements.
Let me explain. It's really, really deep and really, really cool. I mean, I put this particular camera on because you can see that one. You can't quite see it. That one's behind me.
It's like if you had a really good camera and your kids are twirling sparklers or glow sticks around, and it shows the trails. No drugs, just I'm seeing the trails, man.
Yeah, this one over here is called Chaos Butterfly. Although you can see it through the drums, it looks like a butterfly.
Yeah.
And that's actually they're all drum moves. So let me explain what it is. The artwork, first of all, the company's called Scene 4. What they did is they found a way to our management, call them, and said, look, would Mike be interested in coming to our studio and playing drums in the dark with lighted drumsticks? We'll film him, and then we'll make canvases, and it will be fun. And they called me. I said, yes, that would be fun. So we were on tour, and we were playing in down in Anaheim, Dream Theater I'm talking about. So Jake Solomon, who manages us with his dad, Frank, amazing people, by the way, Jake flew and came into town and got me in Anaheim and drove me up to L.A., where I indeed went to the studio with a very small drum kit, but it was symmetrical, so I could do the moves. So a smaller version of the drum set that you can see on their website. And they put me in the dark and said, here, have a green stick in this hand and an orange stick in this hand. Okay, go. So, but that wasn't it. That's what was done most of the time, or with anybody. Go in a room, play drums, play one of your famous songs, and we'll film it, and then, we'll make the print. That's not what I did. What I did is my whole shtick is symmetry. The whole shtick is symmetry, and, the Planck length is supposed to be, it is the smallest distance anything can be physically in the universe, because if you just say, well, I'm just going to cut that in half, what happens is every point in the universe becomes every point in the universe. And it's real. It's bizarre, okay? So there's not supposed to be anything beyond Planck, but in my mind, something had to put it there, or it came from something, however it worked. So I called it Beyond Planck because I don't know where these thoughts come from sometimes, and I don't know where I got all this stuff half the time. So it's cool to me. And because my thing is symmetry, I put the two together. So the artwork is called Beyond Planck. I'm in a room doing this. They said to me, so we'll have the slow shutter speed. And I said, well, what's the speed? And they said, well, it's every 2.5 seconds or 5 seconds.
Oh my God. And you started doing math around the shutter speed, didn't you?
So what I did is check this out. I can hear 1 second. It's right here. Okay? pretty close. It's probably right. That's probably 60 beats a minute. If I really think about it, I can do it. I'll just think of a song and get it like pretty much 60 point something. So anyway, so I said, okay, what I'm going to do is I'm going to, like the chaos butterfly over there. What I'm going to do is, you can see my arms going like a butterfly, or...
Yeah.
Gary Sharon called this the crow move. He goes, do the crow. Like, the crow's funny. Gary, he's perfect.
Oh my God.
What an artistic mind he's got.
I got to get him on the podcast too.
Yeah.
It's like,
oh, he'll be great.
Yeah.
So I'll do it in slow motion, but the move is like. So I'm just going back and forth, an even amount of hits up here, over here, over here. Though real fast, it's like. I hit all kinds of things. That didn't sound very good. I don't know. Oh my God, that was terrible. Anyway, I didn't hit very hard. So,
but we're talking about you're doing this with these glow-in-the-dark drumsticks.
So I had the glow-in-the-dark sticks, but I timed it. In other words, I would like so I'd go brrr, 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 and it would fit into 1 second. So if I did 5 of those, that was one full shutter speed of 5 seconds. And we tested it, and they freaked. They were like, "Oh my God! It looks like," Mike, it looks like you filmed something and we folded the paper over and faked it, but it's not perfect. And like, that's perfect. We don't want it to be perfect because we want it to be real. It's like a Rorschach test. Yeah, it was unbelievable. So I timed all of these art canvases from, I got, you can't see Praying Cherubs behind me, Birth of Souls. I got Never Random over there. Anyway, they're all over here. And the one that you saw, which came from a schematic, those were all symmetrical moves done with a different color stick in each hand. Every single drum move fit into 1 second, and I did 5 of them for a full shutter thing. And since they said, well, we need to have a few full, like you got to go 10 seconds or 15 seconds, multiples of 5, I had to calculate how many moves I did. And in my mind, I had to hear 1 second and fit it in. Otherwise, the picture was ruined. It didn't come out. And so they all came out like...
The artwork is really cool. Like, even if you have no idea what it is, it's visually pleasing.
Thanks.
Now hearing the level of nerddom and mathematics that went into it.
Yeah.
It's a whole other thing. It's crazy.
Yeah, imagine that. I love it.
It's really cool.
It's me. I feel like I love the collection. So the latest one that you saw, this is what that was, and this is hilarious. Before the last album tour, before the whole distance over time era, I was changing the drum set again. So we were on the previous tour still. Yeah. Oh, were we? I don't remember. It doesn't matter. I'm taking up time. Anyway, I was on tour, and my drum tech Eric is silly like me, so
he would have to be to put up with what you demand of him on the daily.
It's you got to have a little bit of a cushion in there, a little bit of, the screw has to be able to move. It's a little loose.
Yeah.
So anyway, so I'm like, oh my gosh. I said, I'm going to make an absurd drum set, and let's wind up like so-and-so on the crew, and this guy and that guy on the crew. I'm going to make a drawing, and it's going to be this absurd drum set with wireless antennas and 3 levels of racks, 1 million cymbals, and instead of 4 of these, I'm gonna put as many as I can fit. I'm gonna put an octave. I'm gonna put 12, and I'm gonna draw a picture of this. It was a 3-story building made into but it looked like this drum set, but up another whole story, and so I drew that out. And Eric was there, and I showed one of the other guys. I'm like, hey, come on over here for a minute. This is the new drum set I'm thinking of, for the next tour. And, we're going to need, I think we're going to need 200 cables, and we're going to need a wireless system.
In his head, he's imagining taking this apart and putting it together every day.
Oh, no. Oh, Eric was in on it. We were telling someone else in the, a couple of the audio crew guys and someone else. We got them together. Like, hey, here's a new kit. And they're looking like, what? And I was, me, I can't keep a straight face and I can't tell a joke. For me to be funny, it has to be real life. But I was able to keep a straight face. I go, yeah. So I'll email this around, and I emailed it, and I didn't get replies. It was one of those So it was a joke, and then finally we said, yeah, it's a joke. And they're like, oh my gosh, you gave me a heart attack, or yeah, I knew you were messing around, or whatever. But that so scene 4 saw that I put that on Instagram, and they said, can we make a canvas out of this? I'm like, why not? And so the latest one is called, what's it called? Supersymmetry Kit, or I forget what
Something
I called
like
it.
That, yeah.
Yeah. Anyway, that's
there's
what
links
it is.
to everything that we're talking
yeah.
about. Your books,
Yeah.
your store, this artwork, all of the links that we're talking about, including the AAF video, are all linked in the description of the podcast and the show notes. So
great.
To make it super easy for people to find all the stuff we're talking about. Yeah.
I'm still no good at that. It's like, Mike, you gotta put the link in your bio on InstaFace. I'm like, I still call it InstaFace, like Bill Belichick.
Yeah.
Because Bill Belichick hates social media. He doesn't on there. He's like, I don't go on InstaFace. I remember a post game thing. He said that.
Snapface and InstaChat.
He's priceless. So now I just call it all InstaFace because I'm not, I'm like, oh my gosh, I got to do this social media thing too. So,
so all of the thought that goes into these angles and all of this math and all of it, the last thing I wanted to talk about is that when you're designing these drums, right, and you're setting up how you hang everything and all of how your body's going to move, at the end of the day, it's the sticks in your hand, right? And the sticks in your hand, while there is a lot of work that goes into the shape, the weight, like all of those things, they're pieces of wood. What kind of wood is it?
Wood, no, it's pine. I believe it's pine. Is it pine? Oh, hickory. What is wrong with me? I can't even believe I just said that. Chad from Veda's gonna. Oh, Alan's going to call. I'm going to get the phone call. Like, Mike, what are you kidding me? Like, look at my headphones. We've been doing this for a while. My headphones hurt. I need food.
Good. So you have these.
It's hickory. And I got them right here. Select hickory. Wicked. McGee named it. Wicked Piston. See the pistons?
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, he came up with 11. He gave me 11 other names.
Oh, wait, hold on.
Yeah. Do you know that he gave me 11 other names that I can't mention? McGee, you know that, right? Did we clue you in? Oh, you couldn't hear me. You didn't have your headphones.
No. I didn't.
Do you know that McGee gave me 11 other names? I think he gave me a dozen other names for this. Can you imagine what he sent me for names?
Oh, I'm sure. And they settled on Wicked Piston.
Well, I had to settle on the only one that was appropriate to say. I'm like, McGee.
So the guys from Vader years ago, because I know Chad and all those guys as well, and they made me, even though I can't play the drums, they made me my own.
Not yet. Let me see. Oh, gosh.
They made me the bitch. I have bitch sticks.
All right, we can say that. That's then.
You can say whatever you want to see. It's the internet.
Well,
But look, and it's a caricature of me.
I know, I see it.
And they called these sticks the Mistress Carrie bitch sticks.
Oh
the
my
bitch.
Gosh, Mistress.
So I'll never be able to play the drums, but I can say that I have my own drumsticks, which is pretty cool.
Never say never. I mean, I could give you a lesson, and you'd be playing in less than 5 minutes, because you know how I would do it? I would have you look at your limbs and not count anything, not say anything. You wouldn't talk numbers, math, rhythm, nothing like that. I would just say, would you look at this, look at your hand, and look at your foot, and say both and hit both. And you would just do that. Or you say right, both. So you'd say, or hand, right side, hand, right side, or right hand, both hands, right hand, both hands. You would be doing it in a second. I used to pull mothers up on stage at my drum clinic. There were kids. I say, does anyone have their mother here? Who were mothers in the crowd? I really did. I did this at Daddy's Junkie all the time. And I was like, you never played the drums. Would you come up and remember this thing that I played? I would ask them to try to play it. They couldn't do it. And then I'd say, I'm going to say some words to you, and I guarantee you, or I'll give you this and give you that, you will get it the first time. The first time. And I just said, look at your feet. Say the word both and just stomp both of them down. And they said, okay, both. Say the word right and look at your right foot. All right, right. I'd say both. And so I'll say left. And I'm like, you just did it. but you didn't know that you did it because you were thinking in the language that your brain needs you to think in and not in the language you think you need to. So, Carrie, what you think you need to do to play the drums, you don't need to. This is what you need to do, and you'll be able to do it if you really want to. So I just want you to know that.
Mind blown.
Yeah. To what level? Whatever.
Yeah.
You know?
Well, if you're doing it for fun.
Yeah.
But for people listening to this, maybe they're, locked down at home and they got a little space in the house and they've always wanted to try and play the drums, and maybe this is the time to do it.
There you go. Maybe I should do some ultra beginner classes online. And
I think you totally should. Because the way you just explained it to me made me think like I could actually play the drums.
Yeah. Well, you would be able to.
Yeah.
So you have the link to the store because the store is up, and I have limited stuff. I have so many drum heads. I have the actual drumsticks from 2 albums here. I have some other ones in another place I got to get, but I got the sticks from the last album here and from the self-titled. I have the rest of the Rhythm Knowledge books. There aren't that many of those left. I've got
How many pairs of
magazines.
sticks do you go through in a show?
DVDs. 2 pair.
Really? That's it?
Well, Vader makes good drumsticks.
Obviously.
Yeah, I use one. I don't even have to switch. I just do because just to keep a fresh pair for the second set because we usually play 2 sets. So I have a pair for the first. I often I may have broken, I don't even know, 3 sticks in 5 or 6 years. Wow. I don't know. I mean, I'm really hitting. Don't get me wrong, but at some point, the speed reduces power. I mean, it's not like just 2-4 bang out music,
Yeah.
So, anyway, so there you go. You've got the links. You got the shop.
Yeah, we got everything.
I got Zoom classes booked for a week from today for drummers that want to learn hands and feet and to do rolls and rudiments. It's going to be fun.
Yeah, that's
and what
really
else?
cool.
I have the Cameo. The Cameo's been wild.
Dude,
That's
I
been
make
a
Cameo
blast.
videos too. Aren't they fun?
Yeah, I've been having a good time.
And with Valentine's Day coming up.
Yeah.
How do you tell the one you love that you love them?
Hire me.
We're better
hire you.
we're better than a Hallmark card.
Yeah, we're way better than Hallmark.
Yeah, those videos are really fun.
It's all right. I got that
I
going
did a
on,
baby gender reveal video, which was really cool. That they wanted a way online in the middle of the virus to kind of tell their friends and family what they were having, so they had me make the video for them. It's cool.
Wow.
Yeah,
that's
it's
interesting
cool
stuff. There you go. And as you wrote me to do this whole thing, it's like, well, what are we doing now that I'm not touring? Well, okay, I got it all fired up now. I'm getting my last thing will be to get the video subscriptions because I know that's what people really, really want the most. They can't make a Zoom class. You just go subscribe for less loot, look at it, as much as you want or for the period that you rent it. And my courses will go up pretty soon. They're just, I need them to be right,
Yeah.
So I want to make another one and get it ready. So anyway, that'll be coming. The Cameo.
What's the
shop.
timeline on the record? Everybody's going to be mad at me if I don't
they
ask
want to know
you.
about that.
Yeah.
It's supposed to be released in September.
Okay.
What's happening is that I'm finished my drum tracks, but now the guitar and bass might be done as well. Keyboards will be done, if not already. I don't even know, actually. It's just like we get together, write this insane amount of material in the shortest amount of time, record it and go home. Just like, okay. Although this time I did spend, it was a number of weeks to compose it and then do the drum tracks. Like I did, because I'm traveling, I didn't want to go back and forth because I'm quarantined, know. In the hotel, there's no maids anymore. And I'm quarantined in the place. We have like the separate rooms. So I'm just alone the whole time.
You're in the bubble.
I'm in that bubble. But bottom line is that it will be out in September. Those mechanisms of it, instruments are being finished. And then, we'll have to deal with lyrics and vocals, stuff like that. And then it has to get mixed, which is being mixed along the way anyway this time. Because we have our own facility now. And so all us, we got the
Do
stuff
you guys
stored.
name the facility? Does the Dream Theater facility have a name? Like my studio is MCHQ?
Ours is HQ. We just call it headquarters.
Oh, there you go.
DT headquarters. And it's in a remote location on another planet. It's on the planet of Sunev.
It's like NORAD. It's like a hollowed out mountainside in Idaho.
There it is. It's got more gear than any 12 band should be allowed to have. And we've got everything, it's beautifully done. So anyway, it'll be out in September, and
then hopefully, depending on what's happening with the world, you guys will hopefully be able to release the record and be able to tour so we can all experience it in person.
Yeah, well, we're scheduled to play Rock in Rio in September, so who knows?
Fingers crossed.
Yeah, who knows? So
Fingers
that's it on
crossed.
That. What else, Carrie?
It was so good to catch up with you.
Yeah.
Thank you so much for coming on the podcast. It's been I can't believe it's been almost a year since AAF went off the air, and that all of this crazy work that I've been doing, behind the scenes, getting the studio built and getting the podcast and the graphics and the website, just like with you, it's like it takes a lot of work to get all of the back end stuff done.
Yeah,
and now
amazing.
To be able to talk to people like you and to be able to hear, just getting the podcast up and getting all of the musicians and all of the people in the industry that I've known over the years to just be so excited about this new venture that I'm doing and to want to participate in it means a lot. So I appreciate the fact that you wanted to come on, and it's really cool.
Oh, you're
Thank
welcome.
you.
It'll be nice. It works both ways. I mean, when I can talk about what I did with my solo record, which I can't do, I just mentioned that I've done the bulk of it. But stuff like that, we can hook up. And
come
I got other
back
things going on.
anytime. Yeah.
But I did it here. It's amazing. So same point. I mean,
Maybe
I was able
next
to
time
make
you
it
come
here.
on the podcast, we can do it in person.
That would be amazing.
Wouldn't that be
it?
crazy? Would it be
I'll
in the
stop
same room?
I'll stop at Mamma Mia's and get us some good stuff to eat.
Now you're talking about it. Now
All right.
you're talking my language.
Carrie, I miss you. Love you.
I miss you
and
too.
take
I love
care.
you too. It was so great
All
to
right.
see you.
Great to see you too.
There he is, the one and only Mike Mangini. Cannot wait to hear the new Dream Theater record and to get my hands on that solo record as well, which as soon as I have more details, I would definitely let you know. Don't forget about the custom playlist. I make one for every episode, and it is linked in the show notes of this podcast, along with all of Mike Mangini's links for his social media, his the artwork we talked about, and even that video that he did playing the suitcase and the trash can lids in the WAAF studio. That's linked as well. If you liked what you heard, don't forget to click subscribe so you don't miss anything on the Mistress Carrie podcast. Full-length episodes come out every Wednesday, plus Monday through Friday, you get the Sit Rep, which is all of your rock news, music headlines, and industry info in less than 5 minutes. And if you don't mind giving me a 5-star review and leave me a comment so I know what you thought. Huge thanks once again to Digital Federal Credit Union at dcu.org and mistresscarrie.com for sponsoring this week's episode. A quick reminder that Valentine's Day is coming up, and you can get a custom Mistress Carrie Cameo video made for the one you love. And meet me for a drink every Tuesday night at 8:30 live on my Facebook page for Cocktails in the War Room.